Guys, in this video, we're going to talk about what each major network needs to do to become successful. Now, we're not going to cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I believe those are already pretty successful or growing into big successes. I mean, they all have dominance in their field, and Solana, even though it doesn't have dominance, is actually growing very, very quickly. So, going down the list, Ton. I think Ton has the easiest path just because of its massive base of users. And with their promotion of both memes and third-party development on their blockchain, I think Ton is on the right path. I have Ton pegged as my the coin with the most potential in my top 10. Now, the thing about Ton is the SEC, and I don't think this was Gary Gensler, I do believe this was Trump's first term under Jay Clayton. They actually kicked Ton's ass and booted them outside of the United States. And Gensler's obviously kept that stance because Ton obviously had a giant ICOs and was declared a security. That's why there are no Ton pairs in the United States. Now, what Ton needs is for Trump to win the election, and after Trump wins the election, they need to convince Trump to actually appoint an SEC commissioner to kind of reverse that decision to make Ton not really a security and a commodity instead. Not really sure how they pull this one off, but it is actually what they need, because if they can get into the United States, that's a chance for massive growth in Ton. And I think that's the only piece of the puzzle that they actually need. I think if Gensler remains chair of the SEC, the percentage chance of that decision reversing is pretty close to zero. But if Trump wins, you donate him some money to his campaign fund, he might just change his mind, because he's more malleable in that aspect that if you donate to his campaign fund or his cause or whatever, he could easily change his mind and give you the nod. And also, like, he's already trying to have this pro crypto angle. So that's going to be even easier. And he's probably going to appoint an SEC commissioner that's more crypto friendly. Yeah, I know Jamie Dimon might be his Secretary of Treasury, but that really doesn't matter. It's really the SEC commissioner that matters for Ton. XRP is the next one, and that one actually has the hardest path because it doesn't have smart contracts. It's basically been surviving on nothing but hype for a long time because it doesn't even really have the start of development. Wheat's Wind was one of the best developers, but now he's doing his Xiaohu thing, which isn't really even XRP Ledger anymore. He's kind of like branched off on his own. So third-party development is non-existent, and that's what XRP needs, because its mantra of we're going to take over the world's like cross-border settlement thing, that's just not working, and it's not going to work because that niche is obviously being taken over by stablecoins. XRP recently just introduced its own stablecoin, and I don't think those two things are unrelated, even though they kind of say they were, but I highly doubt that's the case. I think the writing is on the wall. Basically, no one is using ODL at this point. A couple of people, there are customers using RippleNet, but none of them are using ODL. And they just pulled out of their partnership with like Triango, which is their main user of ODL. So that usage is probably not too great. Even if the case settles, I highly doubt people will actually use ODL because they have a lot of partners outside the United States not affected by the SEC, and even they're not interested in using ODL. Even SBI itself, in their main banking business, does not use ODL. So I originally thought that it was going to be used in some small corridors. Now I don't really know if it's going to be used in any corridors. And I think like the way to draw value, because XRP does have a huge user base, a huge fanatical user base, I think they can actually leverage that for DeFi. And they really, for DeFi and other like ecosystem stuff. And I think like if they do that right, they can still be quite successful because they have a rabid user base. And a couple of like crypto influencers have actually caught on to this. A couple of XRP influencers have caught on to this. Most of them are still in that moon boy mode of like, hey, cross-border domination. We're going to all the money in the world. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. And you're kind of like shifting further and further away from it. If that had any semblance of chance of happening back 6 years ago, that chance is essentially gone. So you basically need to do the same thing as any other coin, but except you're several years behind because you don't have smart contracts. If you look at XRP's AMM, it's basically like at $5 million because it's like 9 million XRP, which is around $5 million, and that's after several months. So no one's really interested in using the AMM. You need the smart contract features, you need developers, you need third-party developers, and you need more people using the AMM, using the DEX, and doing DeFi things, locking money into the system. That's the way you're going to grow XRP price. The industrial utility, that's never going to affect XRP price. That's basically like any other coin. The industrial utility for all these coins is something that they dangle in front of us like a carrot in front of a donkey. And you know what? People keep falling for it. It's been more than half a decade. I really haven't seen industrial utility ever affect price. Now, a little bit it does for Ethereum, but that's because Ethereum is crippled and it's really slow and inefficient. And therefore, fees can shoot up and people are interested in those fees. And that's why Ethereum gets really expensive. But for other chains, XRP included, you don't really have that problem because transactions are fast and efficient and you're never really going to get that backlog. So realistically, XRP needs to do the same thing as pretty much any other chain. They need to get in with reality, realize what all these others are doing to become successful and having their price go up. Because if they don't do that, they're never going to get that price increase that they want. Going down their path, I would be surprised if they actually broke $3 in this bull run at the very top, unless Bitcoin goes to like over 200K or something. In terms of Cardano, they just need more users onto their system. They need to build that liquidity. And you do that with an EVM and with getting USDC on chain. I think they're working on that, but it's literally taking forever. Yes, I know some of you are interested in USDM and JED. Those two things aren't going to do crap. They're nice, but the problem is they're too small and they're not going to grow massively because you actually need people to collateralize enough assets for them to really grow. And it takes a long time to collateralize. And whereas USDC or USDT is plug and play, that's why you need one of those. I'm not willing to wait for like 10 years for USDM or JED to grow to where it actually affects the chain. I kind of want something this bull run, and I'm guessing most of you will as well. So my guess is like ADA definitely needs the EVM so it can like snipe some of the Ethereum stuff. And also they need the USDC/USDT/ a big stablecoin for people to actually store money into so they don't leave the ADA chain when they want to cash out. Now let's move on to Tron. I actually don't know what to say about Tron. It's like Justin Sun. And I have a feeling that's why it doesn't dump all that much during a bear market. And it doesn't rise that much during a bull market. And I'm not really sure what you can actually do to realistically change that. I feel it's Tron's just kind of stuck there. Whereas like, it's okay to pour money into it in a bear market, but it's not something you want to be in on a bull market. Yeah, I know that's not what Tron users want to hear, but that's kind of the way I feel it is. DOT, they need to hurry up and release 2.0. I think that's the most pressing thing. Their tokenomics suck. As of right now, the value is in the parachains and not DOT itself, and I'm not really sure if any of the parachains are actually doing that well either. So yeah, they need to release DOT 2.0 and work on the tokenomics. Near, I think, is doing fine. They do need to expand their ecosystem, but I think the NVIDIA hype will probably carry them through this particular bull run. As for the Ethereum Layer 2s, I probably just wouldn't buy them because Base is going to eat everything. Caspa. That's interesting. Caspa is going to get smart contracts soon. I think they tested them last month. Once they do, they really need to grasp that opportunity to get third-party developers to expand their ecosystem because that's what it's all about. I think some Caspa investors, myself included, but I'm not part of the investors that think this, think that once we get smart contracts, it's off to the moon. That's not how it works. See, everyone else also has smart contracts. So therefore, you need to compete with everyone else and you need to outcompete everyone else. So you need to gather enough developers, merge all their powers together, and then create this giant ecosystem that might take you into the top 10. I have a couple thousand Caspa, and hopefully it does really well so I can cash out for a bag of money. So yeah, KAS needs to take advantage of the initiative and build once it gets smart contracts. In terms of HBAR, I think HBAR is slowly going in the right direction. They're still heavily focused on industrial utility. I can understand that from the foundation's perspective. However, that is really not what it takes from the investor's perspective of HBAR coins. I know some of you are like, I'm in it for the super long run of like 10 years. Most crypto investors aren't going to wait that long, and the industry honestly might not wait for you for 10 years. But they are actually focusing a little bit more on their DeFi ecosystem, and that's very, very good news for HBAR. So because it's got the technology, and even though it's never going to be fully decentralized, I'm not really sure if investors care about that all that much. So I do believe HBAR is building the building blocks, and it is a decent investment. It just needs to funnel more and more money into that DeFi ecosystem stuff that actually will lock coins in their pools to raise the value. Last one I'm going to talk about is VET, because a lot of you are watching this for VET. Now, VET's done some good things recently with VBetterDAO. That's not quite enough. I like that as a start, though. I think they're starting to focus on the ecosystem. They need to allocate more company funds to the ecosystem. Like, they have like $500 million or more in their treasury. They need to allocate a big portion of that, to the ecosystem, because I think it benefits the foundation that you get industrial utility from like logistics and tracking and like carbon neutral projects. But realistically, like for us investors, we don't really see the price go up because of that. And, Vchain does actually have all the tools in terms of like, speed of transactions, cost of transactions, ability to do DeFi. They actually need a couple more, they do need more DEX protocols, and they need people using the DEXs. So, do what Solana did, do what Sui is doing right now. And I think Vchain can be very successful because the network, I believe, is more established than those newer networks. And I think it's more battle tested as well. So that's what Vchain needs to do to be successful. I think Sunny can actually do it, but I still think he's kind of stuck on the industrial, the industrial adoption partnerships thing, which really isn't going to help the price outside of a little bit of FOMO. So that's what I think on Vchain. That's what I think on all the coins. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell notifications button, and I will be back in the next video.